Windrose is a pirate-themed co-op open-world survival craft game that has been developed by Kraken Express and launched into early access in April this year. And it's been lauded as one of the best pirate-themed games ever. My friends and I have clocked a lot of hours into this game over the past few months, and what I'd love to do in this video is bring you guys basically an overview of the game, what is it, and also give you kind of a rundown of what our experiences have been, what's been good, what's been bad, as well as what's coming in the big Ashlands update later this year to help you decide, is this the time to jump on board with this game? Let's get into it. So Windrose starts like any other game, with character creation, and this is pretty good. Now you start by choosing like a base default character, and there are a lot of different options like hairstyles, eye color, a lot of different tattoos, all the usual things that you would find in a classic character creation tool. What's nice here is there are enough options to allow you and your friends to make completely different looking characters. But also the graphics leave a lot to be desired, I find. Like the hair just looks like straw, but ultimately that doesn't matter much because you're not going to be seeing a lot of it in the game anyway. Now once you create your character, you get straight into a tutorial where you learn the basics of combat and movements that you're going to need to know to survive the rest of the game. And the tutorial culminates in a cutscene where you understand that you are now shipwrecked. You're very quickly going to learn how to survive. You have to put down a tent as like a respawn point and a workbench where you can start crafting things for the first time. You're also going to learn very quickly just how brutal this game can be.
Oh, just see you running by with these two dodos.
As you start to explore this island, you're going to discover there are creatures that are going to be a threat to you, but you can also hunt them for resources, which you can then take back to your base and use to craft new gear. And the way you hunt these creatures is, of course, through combat. Combat in this game is very Dark Souls inspired. You get light and heavy attacks that you can pull off in different combos, all the while making sure that your stamina bar is not running dry, otherwise you'll slow down and become an absolute target for all the NPCs around you. You also want to pay attention to your posture, and I don't mean like whether your character's hunched over or standing, I mean you get posture points, which are basically little shields that appear on the UI on your screen when you're blocking. And for every time you block an attack, your posture points are going to break a little bit. And you only get a certain amount before your guard completely breaks, and then you get wailed on. And so basically you're going to want to perform a mix of well-timed dodges and parries, along with different combos of attacks to take out your enemy. It also means you're going to need to learn your enemy's moveset so that you can time yours appropriately. Don't think you can just suddenly run into any new enemy and start just beating them up. Personally, I found the combat in this game really fun, but you do die a lot.
Oh, damn, what the hell? That was like a one-hit kill. Okay, I might cast. Not so advanced as it happens. There you go. There you go. Just to sell that statement in there.
Now, the other thing that makes it tedious is that if you die while you're on another island and you have not put down a fast travel bell, you have to sail all the way back from your base to the new island to collect your loot, and that can take a long time. So always remember to put down your fast travel bell. The type of weapons you equip will change your movesets and also how many posture points you might have. So you might decide to wield a massive two-handed sword and have really heavy, slow sweeping attacks. That's going to be at the sacrifice of a faster melee weapon like the rapier or the cutlass. And there is a whole variety of weapons to choose from. A lot of different sword types, to maces, to halberds, and this also extends to ranged weapons. You can choose to wield a sword in one hand with a flintlock pistol in another, or perhaps you'd like to have a two-handed sword with a big rifle as your secondary weapon, or even a blunderbuss, which is basically like the shotgun of the pirate era and hilariously sends enemies flying when you shoot them. The fact that you can mix and match so much here allows you to customize your combat style, and that's nice because when you're fighting along with friends, you feel a little bit more unique, and you can find the combat that feels most fun for you. One of the things I wasn't expecting but that I love about ranged combat in this game is that the devs have added the realism of what it would be like to fire a flintlock weapon. When you pull the trigger, there is a pause as you hear the flint light the gunpowder, and then it fires. It is satisfying. Now, despite all of this, my friends and I couldn't figure out why we just kept dying all the time, even when we leveled up our gear. And what we ended up discovering was that there is a server setting on by default that basically amplifies enemy damage and health when you are playing co-op. The problem with this is that by multiplying enemy damage, it lets low-level enemies just basically one-shot you. And just by 2xing or 3xing enemy health doesn't really make the game feel more fun to play. It just feels like an absolute drag now that 3 friends are having to just hammer in on one guy for ages before he goes down. So we went into the settings and changed him back, and the game felt way more fun. The game was still more than challenging enough for us, and maybe there are some of you out there that can just breeze this on super hard mode, but this felt way more balanced. Progression in the game is done in a number of different ways. As you explore the game and kill more things and gain experience, you level up your character. With each level you gain, you can put more points into base stats like strength or agility that are basically going to determine how effective you are at using certain weapon types, or how much health you have or how much stamina you have. You can also put points into a skill tree that's going to give you a lot more passive ability with certain weapons. Now, the skill tree seems quite basic to me, like it doesn't give you a lot of different options to choose from, but when you factor in choosing which stats you want to level up, plus which weapon styles you're choosing and what gear you're using, you can really start to amplify how effective you are with different playstyles. One of you might decide, hey, I'm going to be a tanky build. I'll take all the damage guys. I'm going to have as much posture points as possible and as much health as possible. And another friend might decide to be a bit more of a glass cannon and run in and bleed enemies before diving out there and letting the tank soak up all the damage. So this makes combat, especially in co-op, really fun. There are also a variety of different armor sets that you can equip that will give you different passive boosts in certain things. So again, everything you choose to equip and level up in is going to define how your character plays. Sadly, there's no transmog option in the game just yet, so the armor pieces you choose to maximize your stats cannot be customized so that you can look how you want as a pirate, and that's a big downside. Because let's face it, the most important thing about being a pirate is which captain's hat you choose to wear. On top of all of this, just like Valheim, you can eat meals and drink potions and things to either heal yourself or buff yourself so that you have extra health or extra stamina going into a battle. Now, the way you get all of this gear is either by looting it out in the world or more likely crafting it at your base. Base building in this game is really good. Firstly, the game allows for quite a lot of clipping, which is fantastic for making different shapes coming out of buildings or making curved walls and things like this. Also, as you progress through the game and unlock a lot more building pieces, you end up being able to do quite a lot with the customization of your base. You want to make a great big pirate fortress on the side of a cliff? Go do it. And what's cooler is that as you progress, the game will let you hire NPCs to stand at crafting stations in your base, and they'll basically sort of walk around to bring a bit of life to your base. They don't go and talk to each other on the street or sit down and eat meals and things like that. So how much life they really bring into the base is up to you to decide, but it's certainly better than just having an empty base. Now, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube building the most stunning looking bases, and I'd love to see this like living NPC mechanic expanded upon way more. Like, imagine expanding your base into a Port Royale like town. The more you do it, the more NPCs turn up and actually live and breathe and talk to each other. Now, the other mechanic the game has is landscaping. You can take a shovel and flatten the land to pave the way for the base you want to build. But oh my god, is it tedious. It takes way too long to flatten vast expanses of land to build your base on, so I really hope the devs add something that speed this process up or just make it way more efficient. Now, the real purpose of building your base, of course, is to get those crafting stations down, to get your furnaces down so you can start making metal that you can put in your weapons bench to make swords or guns and things like that. Or to build your tailor's hut with its armor smithing bench so that you can make armor. My friends and I decided to build a little port town, and every crafting station would have its own building. So the weapons bench would be in the blacksmith's building. And we built a whole tavern out with rooms for rent up in the top floor and a big dining area in the bottom floor with a fireplace and everything. It ended up looking really cool. The problem with it though is that even though you can hire the odd NPC here and there to walk around the base, we've still built a full tavern that nobody is really using. So I really hope the devs introduce more elements to help bring the base to life a little bit more. Really reward players for their efforts beyond just having new furniture and new skins. Once you've got your base built and your crafting stations are working, you can use them to level up your gear so that you get stronger over time. And this is going to allow you to start exploring higher difficulty areas in the world to get better resources so you can bring them back to your base and make better gear. It's a simple but really effective loop. The world is effectively an ocean with a huge amount of different islands on it. And the world is currently split into 3 main regions. You've got the coastal jungle, where you find dodos and boars. You've got the foothills, which are islands that seem to be more of a savanna-looking environment with wolves and rams and things. And then you have the swamps. There's cursed rot and things all over them, and a lot of sort of cursed creatures that are going to come after you. Each region also has its own world boss, and we actually found these to be really fun, learning how to dodge the movesets and take these bosses down together, because they can be quite challenging. And honestly, I'd love to see the devs implement maybe lesser bosses that you can spontaneously come across in the world that will just keep the game a little bit more exciting and offer the chance to have some more unique loot and things like this. Now, your motivation for going out to all of these islands is to unlock new schematics from the treasure chests you're going to find there. And these might be new decorations or new gear that you can bring back to your base and actually craft for yourself. As you explore the world, you're also going to find the city of Tortuga, which has this cool ripped in half by a supernatural event effect. The half of Tortuga that you can visit is inhabited by different factions that basically act as vendors that you can go and purchase new gear or even new ship schematics from. And this is where we get onto ships, because yes, to travel this world, you need to sail from island to island. The ocean itself looks gorgeous, but that's all there is. There's nothing else to the ocean. There are no merchant ships sailing from port to port. There are no sea creatures and wildlife like in Black Flag, or spontaneous events that you can react to. The ocean just feels empty and lifeless for the most part. But luckily, we do have sea shanties to keep us entertained. And actually, they provide much needed breathers and moments of calm in between the action. Now, there are quests and even a main quest sort of storyline that you can follow in this game. There's nothing emotionally compelling about the characters you meet in the game. You don't really care to learn their stories. You're mostly just clicking through the quests just to get through to the next one. But what it does do is it gives you a reason to go and search for new areas of the map. And a lot of the quests will give you some really nice rewards or currency that you can go and spend in Tortuga. By following the main quests, you're going to very quickly unlock the first ship for yourself, which is the ketch. It's a really cool feeling when you build that ketch for the first time and you see it appear in the ocean and you jump on and the sails come down and you start going. It's a cool feeling. There are currently 3 different ships in the game that you can build: the ketch, the brig, and the frigate. And each of those has 3 different variants that you can choose from to adapt your playstyle. You can customize your ships so you can unlock different flags and sails and even different hull colors, which I think even changes some of the adornments on your hull. But overall, the ship customization does feel very limited at the moment and ends up actually being quite disappointing, compounded by the fact that everyone ends up with the same ship. And what I mean by that is that the ketch is the starting ship. And then the game is clearly designed so that everyone then progresses to the brig because it's got higher health and much higher damage output. And then everyone's expected to progress to the frigate. And you need this because to get to the higher level areas of the ocean where the new regions are, the ketch just isn't going to cut it anymore. You have to have a frigate that's going to be able to take on the enemy NPC frigates that are out on the ocean. And it's disappointing for me because I remember playing Pirates of the Burning Sea, back in the old days. And you would get players that would specialize in just mastering like a smaller, faster ship that could outmaneuver enemy ships, and they could go in with their chain shot and take out the sails and use their speed to win the day. You can't really do this in this game. What really matters is you having enough health and enough cannon power on your ships to be able to take on the others. And this is where ship combat for me is also a little bit disappointing. Don't get me wrong, when you start the game for the first time and you start experiencing it, and especially when you level up your ship to the next one, you get more cannons, ship combat initially feels very fun. It's really, really fun firing a broadside when you get the frigate for the first time and you get all those cannonballs flying. But ship combat really just comes down to circling around the enemy and broadsiding them as much as possible. The only thing that matters is health and damage, and that's it. And it's a shame because this just feels like a not as good version of the ship combat in Black Flag. You have the option of using round or bar shot ammunition, but it doesn't feel like there's any point in using bar shot because your normal cannonballs will take out the enemy health and allow you to board them much quicker without needing to destroy their sails. On top of that, boarding itself doesn't really feel worth the effort. You get a few extra rewards, but they don't seem worth going to the extra effort. You might as well just blow the ship out of the water and loot whatever is left behind. It's much quicker and it's much more satisfying. Also, we found that the melee combat doesn't really work for the boarding because the deck of the ship feels very tight and claustrophobic, and if you get wailed on by 4 or 5 enemies, that you're just dead. There's nothing you can do. There's a lot of work that needs to be done here. We also seem to experience some bugs with the aiming reticle when we were firing at enemy ships, especially when they got really up close to our ship. For some reason, our broadsides would fly through the enemy ships instead of point blank striking it, so that's a bug that needs to be fixed. So ship combat is fun at first and can feel really satisfying, but in the end, and especially late game when you're fighting the same enemies again and again, which is just the same Blackbeard ships throughout the whole game, ship combat ends up feeling really tedious, and more often than not, you end up sailing your ship around enemies to just avoid them most of the time. So that's the game, and right now everyone's waiting for the new big Ashlands update that's going to be coming later this year. There is no explicit release date yet, but it seems like it's going to be coming Q4 2026. So we're going to get the new Ashlands region with a load of different islands that are going to be volcanic, almost like Mordor-like in their look and feel, along with all the new enemies and resources we're going to be able to collect from these islands. And the devs have mentioned that there's going to be more decorations, more customizations, more armor sets. Apparently some of the current armor sets are also going to get some graphical touch-ups as well, so that's nice. Apparently the mechanic where we fill our bases with NPCs is going to be expanded upon as well. So this is great news for those of us that feel like we want to bring our bases to life. I'd love to see the factions in the game be expanded upon a little bit more as well. Right now they just sit alone in their little bases on their little islands and don't really do much. And most importantly, we're going to get a new class of ship. People are talking about the Brigantine, the Galleon, or the Flute. So, I mean, obviously everyone wants the Galleon. That's going to be the badass ship that everyone wants. And we're also going to get new faction ship variants for each class. So the big question is, should you jump on board Windrose right now? If you're the kind of player that likes to skip early access games and wait until the game gets closer to launch before you make your decision, you might want to give this one a miss. But honestly, I've had a great time. Like, just getting out onto the ocean with your friends, experiencing ship combat for the first time and sinking enemies with broadsides. It's fun. It's undeniably fun and satisfying. And it seems like the devs are really going to be working to improve these things over time. The base building feels really good, especially as you unlock new schematics. Plans to expand the NPC system where you can bring your base to life a little bit more. This can only get better. The land combat is really satisfying right now, especially if you're playing co-op or with friends, and you can each focus on a different playstyle to go and explore the world and unlock new rewards together. If you're expecting deep and meaningful story, this isn't the game for you. You're probably going to have a lot of frustrations in this game, but you're also going to kind of fall in love with it. Playing with friends is a good time, and if you're really looking to scratch that pirate roleplay itch, this might be the one for you. So they're my thoughts on the game. I hope you've learned something new, or at the very least found this video entertaining. And if you're looking for more game reviews like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because it will really help the channel out going forward. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.